Looking to transform your family game nights? At Perfectly Picked Games, we specialize in family games that bring everyone closer. Our games aren't just fun. Kids and teens will learn how to take turns, develop basic strategy skills, and understand the thrill of winning and grace of losing. With our exclusive gift of games, you can give months of gaming excitement to your family. Choose a 3-month or 6-month gift, and we'll deliver hand-picked family games to your doorstep every month. And here's the best part. Right now, you can use the promo code GOLDENMOJO and receive 20% off your selected plan. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Use promo code GOLDENMOJO and save 20% today at Perfectly Picked Games.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Hello, all of my paranormal freaks out there. It is I, Golden Jay, hanging out with
the Rocker Chick
and
J-Dub.
And this week, we have very special guests. We got Brian and Marjorie from Back to Paranormal Podcast. Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for having us on.
We are excited to have you on. So we were discussing here. We're just going to break right into it. We have nothing. Normally we do, 15, 20 minutes of banter. So all those people that like to get after us about our opening banter, there is none this week. So no show notes and no timestamp. Boom.
We promise.
We're going to go right into it. But we were talking about, you guys are from New York.
Yes.
And we were talking about some, like running into Tom Hanks and some different stuff like that. But you were telling us that tell us a little bit about what you were doing in California, Brian.
I was working at Warner Brothers. I was an animation artist out there. And so I was working on Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. And,
cool.
Movies, all hand-drawn stuff, which is still around, but it's kind of taken a backseat to the computer animation stuff.
Right.
But I was working with Steven Spielberg and Don Bluth and a lot of different people. Hanna-Barbera, I think people know who they are. And
that's perfect.
So
that's
anyway,
my time.
Marjorie was talking about Tom Hanks before. We got to talk about the Tom Hanks story, but I
like the voice.
So we were at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. So it's a shopping mall, and then you had office buildings around it. And it's basically you would come down the building, and there was like a McDonald's and a Taco Bell right there. And at the time, Taco Bell had a breakfast. So I'd go in and get like a burrito. And sitting there was David Hasselhoff. You know who he is, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he was there with his family. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat, And so I didn't walk over anything. Just, okay, it's David Hasselhoff. So anyway, I get my stuff. Anyway, my family is in New York. My parents were in New York. And so I flew back maybe a couple of weeks later and, visited. And then one day I decided to take a drive out the island. And I'm driving out, I'm getting into the Hamptons area, which is by the water. And you got all these little quaint little towns. But anyway, I kind of took a back route and I stopped at a light. And there was a group of people coming across the street. And one of the people was David Hasselhoff.
That is so weird.
That tends to happen with me. I tend to run into the same people all the time on different coasts. And it's very, very bizarre. And it's one of those things that I'll tell you one other story. Big Disney fan. And so what I did was there was a woman that used to star in a lot of the Disney films back in the day. Her name was Annette Funicello. And
she was in like the original Mickey Mouse
Club. Yeah. She was was big in the 60s. But anyway, I had an auction gallery close to me, and they had a piece of memorabilia with her signature on it. And she was still around, but I think she was suffering from Parkinson's disease. But anyway, I decided I really wanted to get this thing, and I ended up bidding on it, and I won it. And so I had that. But the following week at a Price Club, which is now Costco, I walked in and I ran into her. And she was with her husband. And
these are such random, like David Hasselhoff.
These are just random things that have happened. And, these are things that we talk about on our show. And, I believe in the power of attraction, and we've both had ghostly things happen to us, really weird stuff. And that's really what the show is all about. And we focus on certain things during the show. Like we'll focus on a movie or a TV show or a book, and we'll actually read the book. And then we'll talk about it, and we'll add our experiences, because Marjorie's had her own share, a good share of experiences. And I've had some really bizarre ones. But it's a lot of it. Because I'm a creative guy, I think creative people are more sensitive to this type of thing, because you kind of let your imagination go, and I think you pick up things. So how do you feel?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow I think because I was so focused on this, the Net Funicello story, because I was so focused on that I really wanted this thing, that somehow I just happened to be at that spot a week later.
That's so odd.
And we had a Price Club or a Costco close to us, and this was a little bit further away, and we decided to go to this location. Who knows why? But all of a sudden, that it was like as soon as we walked in, it was just like,
Brian just says flat out, and he said this I think one of the first days I met him. He was like, "There are no coincidences."
Yeah, I believe that. I think.
And I don't think that is such a mind-blowing coincidence. Like, we have other examples where it's like literally the right place, the right day, the right time, the right person, everything is in alignment. And I've always just kind of believed in that. I've always just been like, it just can't be, Yeah. I don't rabidly seek out signs everywhere, like, oh, that's a sign. And I'm not superstitious or anything like that. But there just have been too many moments in life where you're just like, that all came into perfect alignment for me, or for this incident.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's like when you were at the grocery store and that guy came up to you. Are you the rocker chick?
Yeah. It's so weird.
That's fun.
Where are you all located, if I may ask?
Well, we are actually about an hour south of South Bend, Indiana. We're in a smaller town called Warsaw. We are the orthopedic capital of the world. That's our claim to fame here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I had to drive across country, and I definitely drove through Indiana, and I was like, wow, I could stay here.
Trust me, you wouldn't want to stay here.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The winters might be a little less harsh than New York. I don't know, but the winters, we all want to move south for the winter, so you know how that goes.
Oh, I love her.
She wants to move north.
One of us has to. I love it.
Everybody's trying to escape the cold, and you're just trying to.
I'm smiling from
dive
ear to
into
ear.
it. Yeah. So.
I know people like that. They just can't wait for winter and piles of snow, and then they love it.
Yeah, they don't have livestock that they have to take care of in the middle of winter.
I don't either.
Marjorie has this thing for Bigfoot, so somehow I think she would really like it out there, because
we
Bigfoot hunters,
Yeah.
Southern Indiana is a big to do right now, because I'm part of the Indiana Bigfoot group on Facebook, and they Southern Indiana and Hoosier National Forest and all that down through there are a lot of reports of finding and seeing him down there.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
I feel like I have literally just brushed with absolute utter celebrity. Who needs Tom Hanks jogging on the side of the road?
There's a guy on there that says he is living with they're behind his place and they communicate with him. There's a whole group of them. It's a very interesting read if you happen to jump on there. Indiana Bigfoot Association, I believe. So.
But he doesn't have any pictures.
No. No, sorry.
That's just a voice in his head, probably.
It could be.
You know, we did. Didn't we do? We did.
They're in his backyard. Oh, darn it!
I don't want all these people coming to.
Sticks.
I have one. I have a picture of a 6-foot Bigfoot in my backyard.
With
It's
a big
wood,
old-
but
It's made of wood and it's it's propped up on a pole, but he's out there. I put him up.
my son made it for me for Christmas. That was one of his Christmas
Oh,
gifts.
that is nice.
My big bane of some of these shows where they do, like, you have shows with Bigfoot, is that all the pictures are like really blurry, with the exception of the early film from the 60s, which is what? That's
Patterson Gimlin.
There we go. She knows. She
Mhm.
knows all
Her
these
name
names.
is Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys talked that she had boobs in your podcast about that. We were looking at each other, me and the rocker chick, going, "Did she have boobs? I don't remember."
Did you take another look
Big
at it?
swingy.
Not yet. Not yet.
So they were like noodles.
They were 48L, as in long.
Whoa. Yeah, long noodles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've covered a lot of stuff on the podcast as far as UFOs and Bigfoot and a lot of spiritual stuff, because that's kind of like what we know, and it's been so far it's been a lot of fun. We really enjoy doing these shows, and there's always some shock. It's really funny because Marjorie will say something on the show that is just absolutely, it gives me chills, because she'll recount something, and so the shows have been very surprising and a lot of fun. So, and we always start off with like a little drink at the beginning of the show, and it's just.
So what are you drinking tonight?
What was that?
What are you drinking tonight?
I am having a White Claw.
I gave her
Okay.
She gave me the raspberry.
raspberry flavor.
Well, she gave me the raspberry, but then she
Every day.
every day, yeah. No, but what are you drinking?
Weinstefana.
What is it?
Hefeweiss.
You have to. You got to plug it.
have
Maybe
a bite.
some case of it
Oh,
or
I'm
something.
not even.
Yeah,
I got a Vanna White.
Havana White.
Yeah. No.
I'm telling you right now, I'm bringing out the big dogs. I'm drinking the Mountain Dew.
Yeah, Diet Mountain Dew.
I got the mics.
Hard lemonade.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good.
Nope.
I guess not.
What was that?
What was that? I'm sorry.
No, he said Jennifer.
Oh, what do you
Hi,
got?
are you having something tonight?
I got to drive home.
She's drinking the Mountain Dew.
Is
But
that
she's
the
got the bite.
Is that
Growing up, that commercial was the best because I grew up in Manhattan, and my family is really like from the country, and I hated growing up in the city. But my father, he wanted us to get to go to really good schools and things like that, and so. When I saw that Mountain Dew commercial come on and all those kids on the rope swing landing in the crisp, babbling brook, I was just like, God, I wanted Mountain Dew. I wasn't allowed to drink soda. And I was like, I want to Mountain Dew and live out in the country.
I love Mountain Dew. I love Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
But Mountain Dew, I think, has the highest caffeine out of all sodas. I mean, at the time.
One of our babysitters was one of my favorite. We had a babysitter, and she was like a summer nanny. She was in that original Dr. Pepper commercial.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what this has to do with paranormal. Why are we talking about these things?
We're talking about what everybody's drinking. That's right.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's part of the deal.
It's old.
So I have a question for you. You said you grew up in Manhattan. Have you ever heard any stories of the North Brother Island? Because I just did a story for one of our podcasts on that.
North Brother Island.
Yes, where Typhoid Mary, the hospital was at.
Mm-hmm.
You You never heard any stories of
Okay,
it?
what was it? Was it a typhoid? Was it a quarantine like 1800s?
It was the hospital, late 1800s, into the 1900s.
I've never heard of it, but it might have been renamed henceforth. So may I just look that up? What's it called?
Yeah.
North Brother Island.
North Brother Island. Let me
Here,
just.
I'll pick up the
Probably called a bird
As you
sanctuary.
always do.
We have
Brother Island.
because of we're in Long Island, and so there's a lot of places and things that have been covered on paranormal shows, like Katie's, which is a bar in Smithtown, and the bar is supposedly haunted, or kind of glasses fly off of shelves and stuff. That's something that we're kind of focused on, that we would like to do. And then there is also a sanitarium up here, which it's now defunct. Yeah.
So we just drove through there once at night.
It's so
for
creepy.
for thrills.
For thrills.
Well,
yeah.
it was so scary there.
Really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's really funny lately?
Yeah. So you do.
Yeah. Good. No, you say that.
But yes, one does drive by North Brother Island when you are heading towards see where it is. Okay. Rikers is the prison.
Right.
The most brutal prisons, and then right just north of that.
Right.
So it's right. You can see it from.
And what's the name of it again? It's
North Brother Island. Okay. So
where's South Brother Island?
And you've got.
That's in Alabama.
So yeah, you kind of can see that from the bridge.
Yeah.
I have not heard of any paranormal activity from there, but I grew up on East End Avenue. And we lived for the big part of my life, we lived on a corner apartment that had a huge wraparound terrace that just looked over the river and north.
You could see all that.
And
stuff.
You could see all of that. And if I had known that was a haunted island when I was growing up, I would have.
You would have been looking.
I would have been gazing and dreaming of what all the spooky things that would have happened. I was a weird kid.
Well, you do that now. You definitely do that now. No, we want to. I was talking about that bar.
Katie's.
We're going to try to get in there and maybe do a show from there. Do a remote show.
Nice. Very cool.
They've submitted several videos to Paranormal Caught on Camera, and some of them really are mind-blowing.
Kind of
it's real poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not shaky because it's their security,
Right.
Good security cameras where it's not, blurry, where you can't make out anything.
Right.
like the ones from the backyard or something like that.
Yeah. We don't take everything at face value. And that's, I think that's important because, what was it? Ghost hunters. They said, no, we're actually trying to prove that it's not real when we do in the investigations. But then there are just things that they throw their hands up in the air and basically say, we can't explain it. So,
they do make quite an effort to exhaust all the other practical options.
Right.
And I really appreciate that, because then that when you do see something that it's real, and when you have been someone who has seen and felt and heard things that were very real, it's in a way reassuring. Whereas on the other hand, when you have people who do all this hoaxy stuff, it makes it less comforting, because there are a lot of people who believe in all these things, and they deny it. And then there are people who refuse to believe. And so it makes it kind of a lonely experience when you grow and you age and you have these moments where you're just and it's nowhere to kind of turn to. And Brian is the first person that I've ever really felt like I can freely share. And I haven't really shared everything. But
as witnessed on one of the shows where you said something, and we've been together for a while now, and it's I thought you told me everything, and then there was this just one story that blew my mind, and my jaw was open, when you were telling
I
that
know.
story, because it was like, wow. No, not because you didn't tell me, but it was just such an amazing story. And now you're going to want to hear it. I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to hide anything.
Do you want to hear it? Okay. So
Maybe
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, this explains why I've kind of held back on it, because I am private, and also it involved other people. But the other person it involved was my late fiance. He died when we were young, and so I never got the chance to marry him, and it was absolutely devastating. I thought, until I met Brian, that he was the absolute love of my life, and I just was like, just forget it. There's no way that that's coming around again. And so when he did pass away, it was traumatizing. And just there was one night, just a couple nights after his funeral, and I couldn't believe it, and I just was beyond consolation. I mean, my heart was pounding, and I was crying and just so devastated. And I called one of his best friends, and it was like, I don't know, 7:00 at night. And I said, I'm so mad. I'm so furious. I'm, all the things that you feel, and just inconsolable. And I talked to him for a while, and then I suddenly stopped, and I said, he's with you. And we'll call him D. I'm very respectful of people's privacy, and he said, M, I love you. I know you're sad. I'm so sorry. But I have to hang up the phone. I've got to go. I promise I'll call you first thing in the morning. I've got to go. And he hung up the phone. And I thought, oh, all I did was end up making him feel worse. And then I felt even worse, So then the next morning, as promised, he called me, and he said, Emma, that was his nickname for me. He said, I'm so sorry I had to hang up the phone with you. I was having a little dinner of all of our friends. They grew up together as boys. And we were just trying to have a nice dinner, and I made, a beautiful meal, and just get everybody together so we could rehash the good times and kind of recap on the funeral, blah, blah. I had a table. My dining table was covered in candles. And when you said he's with you, all the candles blew out.
Oh, wow.
I know my cheeks are getting hot.
I know.
yeah, that's
and he
that
said,
freaky.
and that's why I had to kind of hang up on you, and I felt really bad about that, but I knew in my gut, I just had this feeling that he had left my house and gone elsewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've had some. She's had some pretty amazing things happen, and sometimes when you're asleep, you'll say stuff and like.
Sorry.
Just
Yeah. I sense things that other people actually can hear and see, and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
No, it's okay. I apologize.
I'll get you.
No, you're fine.
No.
Should probably put some over here. Yeah. I mean, she's had some amazing ones. I've had things all my life, from out of body experience when I was a kid, and premonition dreams, and I haven't had too many of those recently. Want me to get you something?
No, I'm going to use the pillowcase.
Whatever works.
I'm real
That works.
professional.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of different things happen over the years, and it's been pretty crazy. And when my father passed away about 15 years ago, and it was like one thing right after the other, right down to numbers coming up all the time. His birthday was 3/13/33, and I'd wake up at 3:13. Like, I'd wake up and look at the clock, and it would say 3:13, and those numbers kept coming up over and over again. But there were other things. other weird stuff where I would call somebody and I'd say, "Hi, it's Brian," and they call me back and they'd say, "Hi, can I speak to Frank?" And Frank was my father's name. This
wow.
repeatedly, day after day after day, until finally I acknowledged it. I kind of just put my hands up in the air and said, "Dad, I hear you," and then it stopped.
But you had an assistant who was sitting there who heard you leave the voicemail.
Yeah.
And you said, "I want to know, what name did I say when I left that voicemail?"
Yeah, that came later, actually.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
No, that's okay. But no, there was it occurred to me because I was leaving messages, and it occurred to me, how come I'm not listening to the message? I'd like to listen to the message, because if they're hearing Frank and I'm saying Brian, then there's something really weird going on.
Right.
Yeah, but if it's the other way around, like, you've really lost it.
Yeah. Well, I had an assistant that basically I said, "Am I saying that my name is Frank on the phone?" They looked at me funny, like, no. But somebody called back and they said, "Hi, can I speak to Frank?" And somebody else had picked up that call, and I went over there and I said, "Can I speak to them?" And so I talked to them and I said, "Is there any way you can play that message?" I said, "There's no Frank here, but I'd like to hear the message." And so they said, "Yeah, sure." And they played back the message, and it was me. And when I said, "This is," it came back Frank. And I had to listen to it again because I couldn't believe that was happening. My father and I sounded alike.
Wow.
So it was very emotional. And I said, "Thank you so much." And I had to excuse myself for about an hour. It was really,
Wow.
it was amazing, because it meant something to me that, Dad's still around.
He was your best friend.
Yeah, it's just manipulating stuff. But it absolutely gave me shivers down my spine.
Oh, I bet.
And, but it was basically saying to me that, we just don't stop here. We go on. We have a spirit. We have a soul that goes on. And, these are my favorite shows when we talk about stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
We did a show about a movie. It's by Angel Studios called After Death. I think it's After Death. And it's really, it's a show about people that had near-death experiences. This is another thing. I think I riffed on that for a while.
Yeah.
Because they call it After Death, but it's really a near-death experience where people had an experience where they died. They went to another place and then came back to tell you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had seen the movie and we thought it was a wonderful movie. We saw it again. We had to watch this movie again.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful movie. I really recommend it.
And I don't know why I was drawn to this picture, but what was funny was there was one instance where there was a plane crash. Guy crashed his plane into a cemetery in Burbank, California. And literally where that plane crashed was, I used to work maybe about 1,000 feet away in doing a motion picture in a warehouse. And I just, it really hit home because I was drawn to this movie and it was just like, wow, I know
where to spend every day right across the street from all the people.
Right.
And they really chose like about 5 to kind of 7 core individuals who they focused on, and pretty much all of their descriptions of like that next place were all variations on a very central theme.
Yeah.
Very similar. And given that this is so otherworldly, that they could find the words to articulate this place that they went to while they were dead, and they all were resoundingly similar.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of them, what's interesting about that particular movie is the people that came back were like, when they were describing this, it's not just something that they experienced here in their head or in their spirit, but deep down in their soul. And so a lot of these people were in tears. I mean, there was one gentleman on there who was describing it, and he just felt he wasn't worthy, that he doesn't understand why he was in this place. And he just started breaking down, crying on this like a baby.
Yeah.
And it was like, if he's making this up, this is like Oscar winning.
No.
Right.
I mean,
That's not
no, this was absolutely genuine. And,
he moved me the most.
yeah. So we were affected by that movie. And I know people had near death experiences. There's a person I worked with, he worked in the animation business, and he was a very talented guy. And his father-in-law was dying, and they were called to the bedside. And so the whole family was there, and they all witnessed this. As he took his last breath, they saw the spirit come out of his body, actually rise up from his chest and move upward, and then disappeared. And he told me this story. This guy was the most serious person I've ever met in my life. He would never, ever, but for me, I don't know, people open up for me, which is...
They really do. They really, like, a couple weekends ago, this woman she came over to our table. We had already been served. And then another person, we were at a winery and out on the North Fork and
Riverhead. Yes.
And, and then another woman came by, and she was discussing a couple other wines with us, cause we were curious about these other ones. We were taken care of. They were closing it down. We were leaving. Mm-hmm. And this other woman from the winery just came over to our table, and she just started talking to him, and the stories. And
well, she told us a great story where she was working.
She did.
Was it like a bed and breakfast or something like that?
Yes, but I don't want to betray her by saying the name of it.
We're not going to say the name of it, but nobody was upstairs, and she was in the basement. It was an old building. And
it's an historic inn.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a historic area, an old port, right? By an old port in Long Island. But anyway, she was in the basement. She was working on receipts or whatever. And she started hearing like children laughing and old-timey music.
Playing.
Yeah. And she said there was nobody around. There was nobody around. And she was hearing this, and it wasn't coming from a computer or anything. It was just, so she thought that place was haunted. And she just came out and told me that, which was really wild.
I mean, she didn't know that this is what you do?
No, then we opened up and we said, well, we do this podcast.
She had no idea. She thought that we were there to taste the wine.
It's crazy.
People are not really forthcoming with this stuff. A lot of people kind of shun it, you know?
It got to a point where we were like, hey, would you like to sit down?
Pull up a glass.
We did.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Do you think there's an aura about you that draws people in, or is it, in all honesty, is it the voice? Is it the soothing voice that comforts people?
Both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Marjorie, I swear I could actually just put you on and just fall asleep listening to your voice. I'm not gonna lie.
Both very soothing.
Very soothing. But do you think that's part of it?
I definitely think with Brian that it's his aura, because these beautiful things just happen to him all the time. For me, it's always like the tragic, traumatizing, horrible, negative things. But this man just attracts this wonderful, positive. It's a beautiful thing. I'm glad I can get some of the pixie dust.
I told you I saw your aura.
You did.
And I think that was early on. I don't see it anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not. No, but
Are you aura blind?
He's blinded by love.
Exactly. No, like when I was in my early, maybe into the teens, I would look at people and I could actually see their aura. And that kind of stopped. And the first time I've seen it in a long time was with you.
Well, I'm glad you got a chance.
Yeah, I got it back.
You got it back. I remember the look on your face, though.
Yeah.
Because we were sitting at the kitchen table, and I'm looking at him, and I was like, you changed.
Yeah.
You know,
The expression on my face.
Yeah, you went from like, you know, sexy beast into like rapture. You were like a boy at church learning about like the miracle for the first time.
Yeah, no, it was wild.
And I was like,
it's been a while, long time since.
Are you okay?
She still has that all right. No, it's it used to be I could see it all the time, and sometimes I'd have to like look away because it would definitely form around people's heads. I would see that, and I don't. Like I said, it doesn't happen too often, but with you it did. But it kind of stopped in the late teens, I would say, you know, on a steady basis. And but I definitely had to look away because it was just like, you know, it was almost like the
overwhelming.
Yeah, a little overwhelming, but it's almost like the the way I would have to compare this is like if you take a camera and you do like a rack focus where it's almost like the person is moving away from the background. It's almost like they're separating, and that's the effect that I would see with the aura.
Everything else just pulls away.
It's just everything else pulls away, and it's I haven't had that in such a long time, but it was such a weird thing in my teens. I couldn't explain it. Yeah. And then.
So what brought your group together?
Well, me and the rocker chick have been married for 32 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
So that, that's a whole high school, type thing. But we actually, I personally got involved with a couple girls who were doing true crime podcast, and one of them wanted to split off and do paranormal, and my nephew who lives in Texas also wanted to be a part of it. So the original United States of Paranormal was actually 2 teams. We would go every other week. We had Team Boogers, and then they had Team Tejas from Texas.
Wow.
Alicia then left the show. What was it? About 8 months in, I think. She had a lot of family and financial things that she needed to square up, and she didn't have the time. I had met Jen then. Jennifer is actually my boss on my normal work day. So
I'm his work wife.
Yes.
But I came on the show and told, because I lived in a haunted house, and I was on a episode of A Haunting, telling my story. And then I met Jeremy at work, and he was telling me how he was doing this podcast. And I was like, oh, you need to watch this. And so then I came on the show and told my story. And then...
Yeah, and then when Alicia left, because it was just me and her on this side of it. I had talked to Bobbi about it, and she was all on board. And then I said, let's bring Jen in, and because she's very much into all of the paranormal stuff. And so we did that for a few months back and forth with Team Tejas, and of course with things happen, and they needed to take a break, so they had done it for a whole year. And they decided to call it, so it just became the 3 of us. So we've been 80 some episodes after they left. We're still going strong. So
that's pretty good.
That's nice.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts don't last past like 4 episodes.
Well, both of us are doing well then.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of work.
You're doing a great job. So
it's a lot of work for Jeremy because he's the editor.
The editor in chief and all everything. My problem is that I can never get enough. So not only do I do the United States Paranormal, but I also do one called Golden 80s, where we talk about everything from the 80s. I also do one called Golden Image Podcast, where we do a lot of reviews and stuff of local eateries or whatever. And I also do one called Indiana Chiefs Fans, because, I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, so you got to do something about that.
Of course.
And Murd Nerds, I'm working on bringing back to life after the girls left the show, because, they just didn't have the time for it. So I wish it was my full-time job. No offense to my boss.
Mine too.
But that's what we're working towards. We're working towards doing this full-time and having a full-time podcasting network and, a media company, so to speak. So,
you got to shoot high.
I agree. Aim for the stars.
Yeah, aim for the stars. Yeah,
absolutely. And then I get to meet cool people like you guys. We've done some great interviews along the way, with whether it be local investigators or, you're our first big city people. A lot of the things have been kind of a little bit more localized to us. So we're super excited to keep spreading our wings out even farther and getting to kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
Worldly?
Worldly? No, it's not, no. Network is the word I'm looking for. Network with other podcasts and people out there that are doing this and having fun, and I know that we enjoy it. We enjoy it a lot, and we have an amazing fan base. We were talking in our last episode about our fan bases from West Virginia to Houston, Texas to Phoenix, Arizona. You get to interact with these people and learn their lives. And,
we've had a couple of them actually come on and tell some of their stories and actually do stories from their area that they've heard as children and come on and do shows with us. So made a lot of friends. So.
We're expanding because we're going to go on location, but we're also going to have a psychic medium on in a few weeks, and this woman is amazing, and when
she'll be like our first guest. We've never had it.
Yeah, no, she's nice. She read me maybe about 10 years ago, and she was just like, she came up with stuff that I didn't even know, and I had to check with. When I actually left, she was right on the money at the beginning, right on the money at the end. And one of the things, I said a little prayer before the show, not the show, a little prayer before the reading. And it was like, I don't want her to read me. I want to know something from her that I don't, I couldn't possibly know. Right. And so when she read me, she read about 10 minutes, and then she veered off into a direction, and she was just saying all this stuff that I didn't know. And about 20 minutes later, I said to her, I'm not relating to any of this stuff. She said, well, just write it all down. And I did. And so it eventually veered back to me, and she was, once again, right on the money. And so when I left, I went home and I called a friend and said, maybe you should talk to this person about it, because they may know something about it. And so I called that person, and basically I said, well, she said something about a woman all in black wearing jewelry. And so he said, yeah, I had a grandmother like that. And the more I kept coming out with stuff, the more he kept verifying it, and basically that whole part of the reading was for that person.
Oh wow!
And so everything that this woman said was right on the money, and the only
and they weren't even in the room. They was just connected to you.
The one thing that we couldn't figure out was, she said, "There's this huge monkey," and I'm like, I have no idea what that's about. And so it's like, I have no idea. I don't know what she's talking about. A huge monkey or whatever. That was the last thing.
But she said your dad wants to know what's the deal with the big monkey.
No. She just said.
She just said there's.
She just said no. There's something about a big monkey. Well, it was relayed to her from. Maybe my father. I don't know. But anyway, I think about a week later, I had to put something into like a storage room in the basement, and so I'm bringing this box in, and I put this box in the corner, and I turn around, and there's this huge monkey that I've never seen before in the corner of the storage area. And my daughter's name is Jennifer. And I said, Jen? And she came downstairs into the basement, and I said, what is this? And she said, Matt just won that for me, Matthew. His name's Matthew.
Boyfriend at
yeah. I said, when did he win this? She said, like about a week ago. And so that was the final puzzle. No, it was an amazing reading. We're actually, that's the person we're going to be interviewing, and we're going to talk to her about how she gets her information, how she see it and stuff like that. It's going to be a very interesting interview, and she's not like high profile like John Edward and Von Prague and all these other people. Tyler Henry, all these people as celebrity, the Long Island medium,
Right.
But she is,
Cool.
she's a housewife. She has kids. And at the time when she read me, she was in her late 30s, and she's had stuff her whole life happen. So pretty amazing. So now it's like 10 years later, and she's going to be sitting down with us, and we're going to do an interview with her and try to get all the information, all the juicy stuff.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know from her, like, what it must have been like growing up with that. Like, how do you handle that when you're small?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you do with all of that when you're little?
I think you kind of conceal it because, you're afraid if you say, sometimes your parents will actually say, you shouldn't really say that stuff, that's
Right.
Yeah. But it's difficult. I think and I believe people are gifted. I think people have that talent. I was read when I went to school, and I went to Art Students League in Manhattan for art.
Well, this is again the way that you attract people.
Yeah, I was just sitting in the hallway on a bench, just minding my own business, and I was wondering if I was actually going to cut it, if I was going to make it in the business. And so this older woman sat down next to me, and she's making small talk, and all of a sudden she says, "Do you mind if I read you? I have this gift." And I was like, I was open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she started to tell me where I lived, because I lived on Long Island. She told me the type of house I lived in. She told me what I wanted to do. She said, "You're going to go to the West Coast. You're going to go to." She sees California. She saw California. She said, "You're going to do very well. You're going to have a office with a window. You're going to be overlooking the countryside." And then she kind of stopped. And it was kind of the push I needed, because I was really looking for some guidance at that point, because I didn't know if I knew it was good, but I didn't know how good it was. And so sometimes it's nice when somebody comes along. It was unsolicited. It just, came along, kind of fell in my lap, but she got everything right. So it was pretty amazing.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need one of those.
I know. Why can't I sit on a park bench and somebody come and read me?
Have a moment to give you like a pat on the back or encouragement. And
I believe that there are people out there. I believe you can tune into that, but you have to really. I think it requires a lot of deep concentration, and
I don't have that. I have ADHD real bad.
What was that?
I don't have that. I have ADHD real bad.
No, I think you have. They call it intuition, right?
Yeah.
I think we all kind of have that, and I don't know if we all kind of focus in on that. I think we kind of ignore a lot of stuff. But I've known people that they say they don't believe this stuff. They don't believe any of this stuff. And then, of course, they've had one or two things like this happen in their life that they acknowledge that they can't explain.
I think intuition very often gets ignored. I think it's the best weapon you have in life. And I don't mean weapon like violent weapon.
Right.
But it's the best. Okay, tool. Okay.
There you go.
That you have. I speak like that because I was raised by the culture I was raised in is like, very cruel, very harsh,
Yeah.
and I mean, like my brothers and I are the first generation of my family to like not kill anybody. So that's just
Okay.
I was raised to be a fighter, a fight type person. But so I use those terms. The best instrument one has is one's gut intuition. And I think the reason why it gets, pushed aside and forgotten and ignored is because we want to have good manners.
Yeah. Should you clarify the thing about that having killed people?
I'm just thinking, Mom, something out of New York.
Okay.
We're talking about military people.
Okay, gotcha.
My family is just a long line of people who were just extremely violent and there you go.
Well, I guess that clarified it.
I'm gonna get on board with you on this because
family that loves me is just we're raised to be very, very tough. It's just part of like your culture. But
Right.
I'm a nice person.
Yes, you are.
Well, I'm going to get on board with you on this because I truly believe that going with your gut has always been something that I have always really relied on. And it's something that I told my kids too. It's like, whether that kept them out of trouble or not, I said, you're in a situation, and if your gut tells you that you should not be doing this, you just need to step back, whether you're not going to go do what they're going to do. And, you're kind of the outcast at that moment, but just remember that gut feeling is there for a reason. It's guiding you to keep you out of trouble or so on and so forth. And
keep you
but
safe.
I use it for when I haven't seen somebody in a long period of time. And it doesn't happen to me a lot, but it's always fun because I'll be sitting there and I'll think of somebody who I have not seen in years and be like, hey, Britta was an example. I worked with this girl for 2 or 3 years, and I was friends with her husband, and they were a really good group of people, and I was like, I have not seen her in years. And my son calls and says, hey, we're going to the sushi place. Would you like to go? And we tagged along, and our waitress was Britta. Like I said, I had not.
It's amazing.
I had not seen her in years, but
Yeah.
it was a couple days prior to that. But it's crazy. So
She just randomly popped into your home.
just random, and it was so good to see her.
Yeah, me too. I think that people communicate.
Yeah.
That we don't realize.
I think we talked about this on the show, but there was some study done where they dissected a neutron, right? Was it a neutron? They separated it like miles away, and whatever they did to the one side of it basically was felt, or they saw a reaction to the other one, which was 100 miles away or something like that.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely the advances that keep being made in quantum sciences are explaining things like the spiritual realm and the after death. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. I'm a table pounder.
We have people that just echoes when you hit it. Yeah.
The power of positive thought, the power of one's ability to manifest, the after death experiences. What's happening when you are dead and you see yourself and everything that's transpiring around you and your dead body, and then you are revived, that you're able to recount those details that otherwise one would not know.
Those are pretty amazing to me. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that we don't know, and there are people that feel that we're all connected, but we are all really connected in a big way. And so when it happens between you and me, where I'll be texting you, and then you'll be trying to text me at the same time, and we'll be on the same. I'll be thinking about something, and she'll be thinking about the same thing, and it's just like it's really bizarre.
Or he'll answer a question when I'm just about to ask.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "No, I don't think we should do." It's amazing. But it's funny because, and that's what happens in the space in between everything, because there's so much space inside our bodies, inside within the light that is what is reflecting. It's how we perceive what objects and reality is. And if you sort of draw back and look at the tiny, tiny, minuscule dot that we are in the universe, and you see all of the energy that is the universe, and a lot of it is connected through light and through, gases and nebulae and this and that. There's also just this tremendous amount of space in between all these perceived things.
Yeah.
And that's where that communication happens. So like space is okay as long as you're comfortable with it, because what you're allowing to transpire in that space are these intuitions, the gut feelings, like what you had, Jeremy, and what you encourage your children to cultivate, and what you and I have between one another. And it's limitless, it's endless. It's between. Why did you reach out to us?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm so happy that you did.
There's a story that I told on the podcast where it was I was doing an animation. I had an animation program at home, and I was trying to work out a camera move, and it was a professional animation program. And so I was trying to figure out a camera move that should have been very, very easy in the computer, and it kept getting it wrong. It wasn't working right. It was doing the wrong thing, and I was just racking my brain on it. I called support for the company that wrote the software. They couldn't explain it to me, and I was just like besides myself. And my ex-wife, actually, she came in one morning while I was working on the weekend, and she said, you should probably take a break. You should take a break. We're going to the beach. And I was like, no, I gotta really work on this. But she said, sometimes it's good to just get away from it. And then, so I was like, space. So I went to the beach, shut everything down, went to the beach, and I'm not really, I'll go in the water, but, normally I'd like to just stay under an umbrella and have like a beer or something. And so I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I knew the solution. And for the life of me, I can't figure that one out, but I knew it, and I was eager to get back home. It didn't leave me. It was firm in my head what I needed to do. So we finally got back home. I fired up the computer and I did what I thought I needed to do, and lo and behold, it worked. And and some people might say, oh, well, that's because, your brain was trying to figure this out, and,
you were suppressing your subconscious and all that.
Yeah.
I think it was a communication.
No, I think it was a communication. And I think because it was very clear to me what I needed to do. It wasn't like another answer. It was just basically, no, this is the answer, because I had tried everything and it didn't work. And so went back and I tried it, and it worked like a charm. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. I have no idea where that came from. And what's really funny is I can't turn this stuff on and off. It's not like when I get a premonition dream or whatever. It's not like I say I'm going to have a premonition dream. It kind of just happens, and it's just very weird to me how that happens, but it does, and sometimes I'll know something's going to happen moments before it happens, which is really bizarre.
Yeah.
So can't explain any of this stuff.
May I ask Jennifer a question?
Oh, absolutely.
You lived in a haunted house, or you grew up in a haunted house, or?
No, I lived in one after I moved out.
Wow. How long were you there?
Oh geez, I'm like 6-ish years.
6 years. Wow. Yeah, I have. You lived in a haunted house.
Well, I wouldn't really call
it was a haunted house.
Our house haunted.
I lived in a haunted house too. I mean, I've had.
And by the way, I just I don't want to be intrusive. If I ask a question, it does not obligate you to answer. In any way.
You're fine. I'll answer anything.
Well, that's what she says. I
she wants to know. No, my family has it. Oh no, come again.
I was just gonna say that I had like the weirdest things happen. I had a doorbell that wouldn't work because the wires were cut, but randomly the chimes would play, and it wasn't just a ding dong. It was like a song, an old timey song, like
right.
Old MacDonald, or whatever. But then I came home from work, and it was just me living there, and I had a big picture window in the front, and there was a man standing in the window, and my dogs were barking like crazy, and I was like, nope, I ain't going in there.
Yeah, the dogs know.
I had a house
every time.
I had a house out here in the middle of the island, and that house was definitely haunted. But there was one day I came home. I came home late. Everybody was asleep, and I pulled into the driveway, and all of a sudden the light goes on. The front light was off. All of a sudden it went on. And I pulled in, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." Somebody turned it on for me, and I went inside, and I found out nobody turned it on. So somebody was looking at it for me. Yes. Well, that house was definitely haunted, because there was one day that we left, and we shut everything off. Everything was shut off, and when I came back, the lights were on in the living room, and the TV was on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And my ex-wife tried to explain that away.
The people
I was like, no, everything was
people who try to explain it away or make these excuses, and everybody knows darn well they're really just trying to comfort themselves, and that's
yeah. No, it's fine. It's just, but a lot of people do that. A lot of people try to.
I know.
Try to normalize. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that they have something going on in their house.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever told that story.
No, I've never.
I mean, Jennifer was the same way. The first
one for the book, I'm telling you, it's mounting up here, but no, they're all true.
Jen was the same way. She kind of fought against it at the very beginning too. So I mean, eventually, she kind of learned to live with it for 3 or 4 years. But there became more to the situation where it wasn't just her involved in it, and that's why they got out. But I believe that from what I know of the story, that that your ghost was just not happy with somebody living in the house that he built. So,
yeah.
So it's you have to go check it out. It's episode 20, I believe, of the United States Paranormal. And of course, you can check out A Haunting on Discovery Plus. And there's her cute little face right there in the middle of it. She has a lot shorter hair back there.
Yeah.
You know what season it's in?
Unfortunately, it bounces around a little bit, because I think originally what she told me wasn't the same, but it's called
A Haunting, Eternal Grief.
Yeah, Eternal Grief.
Eternal grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you Google Jennifer Patterson, a haunting, it should pop up because that's my maiden name.
We're gonna look out for that.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a look at it, and then we're gonna review the show.
And
Yeah.
Go for it.
20. That's me trying to remember the number.
Well, guys, we're rounding over an hour. We usually like to keep our episodes right around an hour, so I don't want to cut you off, but
no, cut us off. We don't want to make more work for the producer.
Well, the big thing is I got to get Jennifer home because she still has chores.
I have horses to feed.
Yeah, and we don't want to keep her in the dark too long.
No.
She gets a little spooked out there. We're pretty sure there's a skinwalker out there, but that's
rude.
Oh, denial, yes.
I wish you had cut us off earlier. I didn't know that.
No. I've enjoyed visiting with you guys and getting to know you. And like I said, I've been listening to the pod. I haven't listened to all the episodes, but I have listened to several, and I've enjoyed them. I find that when I know you guys are talking about a book or like the Bigfoot Odyssey, you guys talked about that, and I know you have a centralized item in which you're talking about, but you're blending into the stories and stuff like that. Your personal experiences and like the stuff you shared today with us really adds to that. Like I said at the beginning, we take a lot of slack for a lot of banter at the opening of our episodes. Mm-hmm. We have good reviews, we have bad reviews. It hurts a little bit when people don't get a chance to know us from the banter. And I think that, with you guys telling your story, but showing stories in between of your own personal experiences, makes it more interesting and, more fun. I really truly believe that. So keep up the work, and hopefully 13 will turn into 30, will turn into 120. So
well, coming from like real veterans of this sort of communication form, I really appreciate it.
We're flattered.
Because when it first started, I was so shy, and I was just like, I don't know, Brian, I don't know what are you doing here?
I was taking the lead, and now she's taking the lead on this, which is really kind of interesting. But the Back to Paranormal thing that came from Marjorie, and it was the title of the show was excellent.
Thank you.
Because the whole thing was, this stuff is normal. It's not
right.
It's this is real stuff that's normal happening. Yeah, this is normal. And so, but like I said, we really enjoyed doing it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes,
I really enjoyed meeting you, and I could just talk to you all for.
We'll have to do this again.
Yes. Yes, maybe we could do this again if you guys don't mind.
Like to have us.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice to meet you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, Back to Paranormal. You can find it on Spotify, Apple. You guys are pretty much everywhere, right? You guys doing the full stream?
YouTube and
right on.
So say Alexa. Alexa.
Absolutely. She's good for that kind of stuff. And as always, you can always go check out the United States of Paranormal.com, where we have new stuff coming on there. We're doing spotlights of the month. We're doing clips from our Patreon. We are doing fan of the month. That's right, Mason. That's you, buddy. I'm getting, did he send you that picture?
No.
That son of a bitch. And of course, United States Paranormal also has all of our great merch where you can get the Celestial Stag, the Great White Bald Beaver t-shirt. You can get a Pair of Feet t-shirt or some golden oldies. What do you got? We got Bigfoot on here. Yep. She's got her Bigfoot shirt on. We have a Banshee on there also. Just tons of great designs from Esteban. So go check it out, UnitedStatesParanormal.com. Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for coming on our show. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you. You've been
lovely.
Thank you.
And
yeah.
We will see you again. Hopefully we'll see you again. We'll keep in touch. And you know what they say, keep it spooky, and I'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Check us out at theunitedstatesofparanormal.com, where you can find our Spotlight of the Month, Fan of the Month, and all of our amazing merchandise. Or you can find us on social media at Facebook at the United States of Paranormal, Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and YouTube at the United States of Paranormal 1795. And don't forget, we are now on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/2sop.
Please check out the other podcasts in the Golden Mojo Entertainment Network of podcasts. The Call Guys, Golden Image Podcast, Indiana Chiefs Fans, Golden 80s, The Gridiron Kings, Murd Nerds, and A Quart of Books and Booze, all of which can be found at goldenmojoent.com or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
And if you have a location or a story that you would like for us to check into, please email us at the United States of Paranormal at gmail.com. Please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you for all of your support. Bye.